Megamaniacs, this is Mr. MegaManFan, trying out something new on the channel, so you'll have to let me know if you like it or not. I'm taking the opportunity to look at obscure TurboGrafx/PC Engine games that you may have never seen or played before, and I'll call it the PC Engine Files. Shout out to Sarumaru and the Saru crew for being enthusiastic TurboGrafx fans, which in part inspired this idea. Today's game is Toilet Kids, and this game is so obscure it doesn't even have an entry on Wikipedia, nor have I seen many copies of it. In fact, only one time at a retro gaming convention did I ever see a copy of this game, which wasn't for sale. It was only set up as a demo so people could play it and the guy could laugh at how ridiculous this game was. Now, if you go looking around on places like Price Charting, you will find a listing for it, but the last recorded copy they sold was an import in 2012, which sold for $70 loose, and they've also listed it as complete at $150 and new at $314, but I'm not even sure how you can derive those values, given that there's only one copy sold in the last 7 years. Who even knows what this would go for now? And to that end, it's only fair to tell you that I'm playing this via the Super SD System 3. Now, normally for a game like this, I would tell you, try it out in emulation first, and if you think it's good, buy a copy. But I'm going to just be straight up and say, I don't think you can find a copy to buy, and I don't think you'd want to pay whatever price it would sell for if you could. So some games may just be better left obscure. If there's a PC Engine museum that has every game ever released for it, a copy of it should belong there, but I don't think too many people need to have this game. If Sarumaru does, more power to him. I'm impressed, but let me tell you one of the few entries that actually exists for this game and what they have to say about it, and it's pretty true to the material that you're watching right now. This is what Giant Bomb wrote. Toilet Kids is a vertical shoot-'em-up in a world filled with scatological enemies and humor. A young boy is accidentally flushed down the toilet one night, appearing in a mysterious world, and must defeat the world's guardian before he can go home. The game has 4 stages total, each of which has a different theme, and the player is able to target both air enemies and ground enemies in a system similar to that introduced in Xevious. Now that last part, boy is it ever accurate, although to me it is much harder than Xevious, which astounds me since I'm playing the game on the purported easy mode, but because you can only target the enemies with the specific weapon that matches them, you can only destroy these golden poops using your bomb weapon, and you can only destroy those little insect-looking things with your shooter weapon. And if there was some way that you could just use one weapon on the other, but it was less effective, say hitting your ground-based enemies with the shooter, but it would require more shots than the bomb, then this might be somewhat fair, but because you can only hit them with only the weapon that's meant to destroy them, it's very, very difficult, very punishing, and unlike Xevious, there's just not much time to react to anything because you're constantly being pushed up towards the enemies, whereas Xevious seems to crawl along by comparison. They're both vertical scrollers, but Xevious is much more forgiving in its pace, and it's not quite a bullet hell because the ground-based enemies might fire one lone shot at you and then another shot at you, whereas these ground-based enemies have spread weapons and fire multiple shots at you. And there don't seem to be a lot of power-ups that you can pick up. I sporadically get one here or there, but you don't consistently get a whole lot of power-ups that help you power through Toilet Kids. It's not really surprising to me playing this game that it is an obscure game and that not many copies of it exist, because I can't imagine anybody thought, wow, a game about toilet humor as a shoot 'em up was really going to sell that well. I mean, I get that the Japanese video game market is full of wacky things like Choaniki, but at the same time, a bad version of Xevious as a toilet shoot 'em up does not strike me as a bestseller. I can't imagine that they blew through the initial shipments of it and people were clamoring for more. Media Rings Corporation wasn't like, wow, we just made a killing on this. We gotta print 10,000 more copies and sell out every last one of them. No, this is not Galaga. This is not Bonk. This is not Wise. This is Toilet Kids. It's obscure because it deserves to be. No offense to the creators of the game. It's hard to call it fun when I just don't think, unless you precisely memorize these short and intense stages and know exactly which weapon to use at exactly the right time, you're going to get any full enjoyment out of it. There's, even in a lot of bullet hell games, there's some forgiveness, like there's more than one way to solve the puzzle, so to speak. You could use a different pattern, or the enemy's shots will head in the direction that you're flying, so you can sweep to one side and lure the shots off and then move around it. There's just nothing like that here. It's, the enemies are in fixed places, the patterns are fixed, the scatological humor I get would be somewhat amusing, but it's also in 8/16-bit graphics, so it's not even that graphic, if you get my gist. It's okay. Here's what I can say that I think makes the most sense. The Binding of Isaac also has a lot of scatological humor and also has golden poo, but when you look at that stuff, you actually know what you're looking at, and half the time when you're playing Toilet Kids, you're like, okay, that's a poo, that's probably a toilet, and now I'm fighting spiders? What do they have to do with poo or toilets? It's like, can you even comprehend and put all of these things together? Tango agrees with me. He's over there chirping in the background. But I do want to say, you should try this game. I don't think I would say you should buy this game. Not for 70, 150, or 300 plus. I don't think it's worth that kind of investment. Just imagine the fact that if you bought this game new in an unopened box, you would spend more than the Super SD System 3 costs. And for what? A game with only 4 stages? That's not even that great? It's the reason I have such memories of Toilet Kids is the sheer novelty value of being at a convention when somebody had a PC Engine set up and a copy of this game loaded into it, and they're like, it's a shoot 'em up about poo, you gotta see this. So of course, when you're at a video game convention and people are showing off wacky, obscure Japanese video games, you're going to take an interest in that sort of thing. Especially if you're a gaming enthusiast, a retro enthusiast, a collector enthusiast, anybody that is drawn towards the weird, obscure, and interesting novelties of video game history. Toilet Kids definitely fits all of those categories. But nobody succeeded wildly beyond their ambitions here. This is not a legendary game. This is not a game that made the developers a mint. Nobody built their career off of Toilet Kids. I can't imagine why you would need to own this. Only, I'm serious here, only if your goal is to own every PC Engine game ever made should you consider it.